Okay, guys, we're live. Welcome to the Zoom talk for RBC for Wednesday night, June 10th. Tonight, we're going to try a slightly different format. I have loads of material for you, and we're going to try and pack it into an hour here. So it's going to be less focused on chat tonight. If we do have time at the end, I'll try and circle back to that. But tonight's going to be 4 hours worth of content compressed into 1 hour. So without further ado, I've got this all mapped out. Let's see if I can get this all done. And I gave you a list of things I'm going to talk about and try and hit every single one of them. So the first question that I received in email was about the rule of 20 and 22 and how it pertained to opening the bidding on balanced hands. So here's my basic algorithm on opening a borderline hand. If I have a balanced hand, so that's 4-3-3, 4-4-3-2, or 5-3-3-2, I am going to open all 12s, 13s, obviously. And with 11s, I'm going to use judgment, so that the things that would upgrade an 11 for me is being not vulnerable, having good interiors, having my cards concentrated in my long suits, having a surplus of 10s and 9s. The 11s, I'm using my judgment. The 12s, I'm always opening. And I'm not using the rule of 20 or 22 on balanced hands. That would be more like when you're thinking about opening a shapely unbalanced hand. Okay, and also just a quick plug for I am in favor of opening the bidding when it's close. Okay, so and the thing about close decisions is you shouldn't fret too much one way or the other. Okay, because by definition it's close, right? I would always err on the side of trying to get my opening bid in just because I know that's a huge tactical advantage. One thing I will say about opening light is once you've chosen a path, stick with it. So let's say you've got a borderline hand and you choose not to open it. Well, later on in the auction, you can feel free to say I have a maximum given that I've passed, or cooperate with partners' invitations, anything like that. If you do open, realize that later on if partner asks you your opinion, you probably have a minimum. You probably have a turn down of an invitation. But don't fall into the trap of doing weird things like passing forcing bids later on in the auction because you feel guilty that you opened. So the thing is, like, choose a path and then be consistent with it. Okay, so if you open the bidding, keep on bidding when partner forces, and you can feel free to lay off the gas if partner asks your opinion later on. So rule of 20 and 22, unbalanced hands, balanced hands, opening all 12s, 11s, I'm using judgment. Okay, let's get to our first handout, which is reverses. Got a question on this. So what you'll see on the screen share is a handout I made up for the RBC one night. And basically, I'm just going to do what any great teacher does and read it to you. So reverses are openers rebids that satisfy the following conditions. 1, opener's second suit is at the 2 level. 2, opener's second suit is higher ranking than opener's first suit. And 3, responder bid at the 1 level. And if those conditions are met, we have a reverse on our hand. And occasionally you'll run into people who say, well, I don't play reverses. It's like, you can't operate that way. Reverses have to show extra values because of the fact that you are forcing partner who might have something like a minimum response and no cards in the second suit you bid. You're potentially forcing them to take you to the 3 level when they don't have much of a hand and they don't have much of a fit. And the only way you can justify that is by having a really good hand. I say the following are the reverse auctions. There's 10 of them, and they're the 10 auctions that meet the first 3 criteria. I won't bore you to death. Hopefully, just knowing that there's only 10 auctions in the reverse universe makes it seem less daunting. Okay. And then the 3 things the reverse shows. It shows 17 plus strength-wise. It shows more cards in the first suit than in the second suit. There might be a possible exception on 4-4-4-1 hands, but generally speaking, 5 cards in the first suit, 4 cards in the second suit. First suit's longer. Those are the minimum things you're looking at. And 3, an unbalanced hand. If we had a balanced hand with 17 to 20 type strength, those would always be either opened 1 no trump if you've got 17, or opened 2 no trump if you've got 20. or opened at the 1 level and you rebid 2 no trump if you've got 18 to 19. So with reverses, we're always looking at a shapely hand. 5-4-2-2 is about the minimum on that. A reverse promises another bid by opener. Responder doesn't need to worry that her second bid will be passed. And a couple of clarification points, and then we're going to move on with this. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty at the bottom is what responder should do on the second round. I don't want to get into that tonight. We don't have time for it. Just suffice it. I'm trying to walk you through the logic of why reverses have to be reverses. The clarification points, reverses don't apply in 2/1 auctions. Okay, there we're just bidding out pattern. Jump shifts are different, and they're 100% game forcing, where in a reverse auction, you might still stop shy of game if responder kind of has not much of a hand. Jump shifts are always like a club, a diamond, 2 hearts. All right, I've jumped the level of bidding. I could have responded 1 heart and I bid 2. Or I open a diamond, a heart, 2 spades. Okay, and those jump shift auctions actually show maybe even a cut above what the reverse strength shows. And the third point is, I see this from time to time, when a reverse is possible, opener doesn't need to jump to show a good hand. Okay, so if we open a diamond and partner bids a spade, we can bid 2 hearts. That already shows a very nice hand, and our partner cannot pass that. Okay, even if she feels guilty about the 1 spade response, it's kind of getting back to the earlier point. If opener makes a reverse, you've got to have faith that your partner's going to keep that bidding open, and then you don't have to do the things like the auction on the right, which is a diamond, a spade, 3 hearts. That's not needed for natural enforcing, because a diamond, a spade, 2 hearts is natural enforcing. All right, that's about it on reverses. Yeah, I hope that's convincing logic on why reverses have to show good hands. Remember, you are forcing a partner who is potentially very weak and doesn't have a fit for you to take a to get your side to the 3 level. And if I'm contracting for 9 tricks opposite not much help in the dummy, logically I have to have a good hand. Okay. So that's it on reverses. And let's move on to the BBO portion of this. And we're going to take a fun sidestep here. And I wanted to explain the beer card. Unfortunately, the Bridge Bulletin already beat me to the punch here a little bit. They actually featured the beer card in this month's bulletin. Sometimes if you're playing against me, at the end you'll hear me claim a beer, like say beer. That doesn't just mean that I'm going to the bar, although that is also often the case. The beer is anytime you take the 7 of diamonds as your last trick when diamonds are not trump, and you make the contract. So I have an example beer hand here that we'll go through quickly. I think this is from last Thursday night, maybe. It's the one where Vladimir asked about how many spades he should bid with the West hand. So we played 4 clubs. The play is not interesting here. Just want to show you how a beer would be won. And I believe he came back. Just pulling some trump here. Return to diamond. High card from the short side, also unblocking the beer. Okay, so we're going to pull the last couple of trump here. And at this point, you will see that you have plenty of winners. And, if we play the 9 of clubs, and go out to the hearts. And now all we have to do in the end position is overtake the 9 of diamonds with the jack, and the 7 would be good. You can actually put this in the claim, and you would just put beer. All right, so anyway, that's a fun little mini game to play in the middle of an otherwise crazy fun game is the beer card. Taking the last trick with the 7 of diamonds, and the rules are can't be trump, got to be the last trick, got to make the contract, and partner owes you a cold one. All right, so that's the fun little beer card game. Let's go to what's next on the agenda here. Let's go to this hand 11 from last Tuesday night, which I told you we do a really deep dive on because there are a great amount of points to be made here, and I think we can attack this hand from about 5 different levels. And quick thank you to Collins for pointing this one out yesterday as a great one to go over. He wanted to go down one road, and we'll go down that road, but there's also a bunch of other stuff I want to say on that. So let's load up our deal source. Use save deals. Zoom June 10th. Hopefully this will be it. Perfect. So at a lot of tables, this auction went a diamond by South. This is at least what went in our auction, at our table. And I'm opening a diamond here, even though my clubs are longer, because I don't want to run into that reverse problem, right? I don't want to open a club, have my partner bid a spade, and then be forced into bidding 2 diamonds. Because although I had a good hand, it's not quite enough for a reverse. All right, so the idea is if you want to bid diamonds and clubs, you start with diamonds, you come back with clubs, and you have an understanding partner who appreciates that sort of problem and knows that when you take an auction that looks like that, it's possible that your clubs will be longer than your diamonds. Okay, so that's the 1 diamond opener. At our table, we got a double by the West hand. And I'm not really in love with this double for what it's worth. You do have 14 points, but also what you have is a hand that would defend really well if the opponents played diamonds. And I prefer to either have like more strength than this, or like if you transpose the clubs and the diamonds, I'm surely on board. And just looking at what people did with this hand, I understand that this is kind of in the gray area, and some people would double with this, and that would be more their style. But just here to say, this is not my favorite takeout double in the world, just because of the diamond length, mainly. And I'm not actually all that worried. Like if partner bids 2 clubs, I'm not all that worried, right? Because partner will go out of her way to bid a major if she's got one of those. So that's not it as much as it is. I like to think of takeout doubles as offensive bids. And here I have 4 trumps to the king jack 7-3. So anyway, let's stick with this auction for a second. So let's talk about what responders' actions are after a diamond double. So, and this is again, I think different people have different ways of doing this, but I believe what I'm telling you here is kind of modern theory on what the bids mean. You redouble anytime you have 10 plus points and a desire to defend. Okay, and that's going to tend to be a balanced hand, and it's going to tend to not have a big fit with partner, particularly if partners bid a major. Like usually we don't want to be suggesting defense if we have an 8-card major fit. All right. So normally redouble would be 10 plus points, and just think of it in English as this kind of looks like a misfit to me maybe, and I have a desire to defend. And what that hand would kind of look like, if you think about it, is like it would also look like a takeout double of 1 diamond. It's got a misfit with partner, it's a good hand, and it's got length in the other suits, right? So that's kind of what redouble would look like. If you bid here, it's just as if they haven't bid on your right. Okay, so if you wanted to get both the spade and the heart suits on the table, if that's your plan, the idea is we're going to start with the higher of 5-card suits, and we could bid a spade, and that would be natural and forcing here. Okay, it's not limited by our failure to redouble. In other words, you could still have a big shapely hand when you don't redouble. Redouble should be 10 plus points, defensive values, tends to not have a fit for partner. So what if you have a huge fit for partner and they double, and you've got a good hand. That's where most people would play something called Jordan 2-no trump. So 2-no trump in an auction like this, I don't actually have the hand because I don't have diamonds. But if you were to bid 2-no trump here, let me undo that. Show you how to use the alert again. Fit, good hand, right? That would bid 2-no trump. Okay, so that doesn't fit here because we only have 2-card diamond support. But that's what you do with good hands with a fit, good hands without a fit, and you can bid 1 heart or 1 spade, and it should be forcing for 1 round. So let's go down that path for a second. And I'm going to say this hand is strong enough that I at least want to mention both suits. So I'm going to start with my spades, even though they're more tattered than my hearts. The only consideration I'm giving here is I want to bid both suits, and I'm going to start with the higher ranking suit, the higher ranking 5-card suit, and come back with the lower ranking 5-card suit. So I'll start with a spade. This is natural and forcing. East kind of says, okay, if you glad I'm off the hook here. South follows through with 2 clubs. Okay, this is the original plan. West has done all the bidding she should do here. And now we're kind of in a spot. The problem with 2 hearts here is what? Well, it's that if we're playing a convention called 4th suit forcing, and we have the agreement that would apply over a double, 2 hearts would force to game. And it wouldn't necessarily show hearts. We could clarify that later. But I don't really want to send the message that I've got enough to commit to a game with this 8 count. It's 5-5, but it is only an 8 count. And I don't have a fit for diamonds with my partner. And oh, by the way, the person on my right kind of suggested that they have length in the 2 suits that I have length in. So all that being said, what I would like to do here is invite partner. Say I have invitational strength with hearts. So the way you can do that, if you're playing 4th suit forcing to game, is now the 3 level becomes open for invitations. So anything we wanted to bid at the 3 level here is not forcing, but invitational, suggestive, constructive. So I can bid 3 hearts here. Partner knows, A, I have hearts, and B, I don't have a forcing hand. I have an invitational hand. Why don't I have a forcing hand? Because all the forcing hands would have gone through 2 hearts first, and then bid hearts at our next opportunity to clarify that that's actually what we've got. Okay, so this is the way if you're playing 4th suit forcing, this is the way you could show an invite. And from here, I would be very happy to raise to 4 hearts with the south hand. I have 3 quick tricks on the outside. I have a singleton spade, and I have 3 trumps. And if we keep in mind that invites at pairs scoring particularly should be sound, I have every bit of a 4-heart bid here. And that is how you would navigate this particular auction. Okay. Isn't that a jump shift I'm seeing in the chat? Jump shifts only apply by opener, I think, technically. Here, I don't know what the name of it is exactly, but just keep in mind that you put all of your good hands when you're using 4th suit forcing go into that 2-heart bid on responder's second bid. Okay, if we've named suit 1, suit 2, suit 3, all of responder's forcing hands need to bid suit 4, so that when we don't do that, it can mean something different. And the most high frequency, useful thing that people have decided on is the 3 level can be invitational. Does 3 heart imply 5 in length? Yes, definitely. Okay, so that's that. So that's your 4th suit forcing thing on this. That's how you would navigate this hand. That's why things are invitational. Let's take you back to another action that I have some sympathy for here. I think I loaded multiple copies and can just hit redeal. Oh, look at that. So we went down the what if I started with a spade path. The other action I have a little bit of sympathy for is, how would you find the 4-4 heart fit? You wouldn't with an invitational hand, I think is the short answer. But let me keep going here. We're gonna try and get to the chat at the end, if so. For the rest of this, I think I'm going to ignore it and try to circle back to it. If it went a diamond double, and as north, you picture that your partner has diamonds, and the person on your right has spades and hearts, you can kind of see that this deal is already giving off strong hints of a misfit. And I do have some sympathy for treating this like a 10-point defensive hand. The way we would do that is by redoubling. Let's talk a second about what happens after the redouble. What happens after the redouble is that both partners, we're in penalty double mode now. So anytime they try to run to a suit that we have 4 cards in, basically, we double, and that's for penalty. And if we don't have 4 cards, we pass it to our partner to see if they have 4 cards. And if they can't penalty double it either, they'll make up some other bid. But here we are in penalty double mode, and it is both sides of the table's responsibility to double when the opponents run to suits that you have 4 cards in. Okay, so as north, if they want to play 1 heart or 1 spade doubled, I'm happy as a pig in mud. Okay, the one thing I'm a little bit worried about is that they have a club fit. But the thing is, if my left-hand opponent bids 2 clubs, say, and I trust my partner to make a penalty double anytime he's got club length, and boy, does he have club length here. On the back end of the auction, I can now just bid 2 hearts, right? If neither of us has length in clubs. And if partner has length in clubs, I'm very happy to play 2 clubs doubled. The deal's a misfit, and we have the majority of the high card points. The idea is we would just lead trump over and over and over and over. Right, yeah, Vladimir got I said I was going to ignore chat, and I can't take my eyes off of it. Well, Vladimir hit it. So in this situation, East would bid 2 clubs, right? And remember, the East isn't showing any values here. They're just showing their longest suit, right? Partner's never going to think you have values on this auction. It's already gone. I have an opening hand. I have something resembling an opening hand. I have something resembling an opening hand. Nobody thinks that the 4th guy is bidding on values. He's just bidding on what's the least of evils here. Okay, and South should lick her chops and double. This is a penalty double. Okay, and at this point, West might be thinking, wish I hadn't made that takeout double with 2 cards and an unbid suit. And it goes pass, pass, pass. And the idea against these types of auctions is you lead trump. So let's go over to our friend, the double dummy solver. Oh, I have to pass here first. And if we look at the double dummy solver against 2 clubs doubled, you will notice that it's split about half and half between down 2 and down 1, right? And if we follow the rule of just laying down the ace of trump, right, we're going to beat this too. So we lay down the ace of trump, get a look at the dummy, sweet, we can just keep on playing trump. And on these auctions where you have them outgunned in terms of high cards, unless something else is super indicated, you just lead trumps, 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 trumps. All right, well, what if instead of doing this, what if the opponent's got to hearts? What if they got to 1 heart? And I'm not saying that the East would bid this. I just want to show you that they are in deep trouble no matter what they bid. Let's say they play hearts. What's our double dummy think about leading a trump against hearts? And remember, they're at the 1 level this time. Oh, gosh, right? And that makes sense. We can beat it 5 on some of these leads. And that's consistent with if we actually play hearts our way, which remember our first auction led us to, we can actually make 5. So down 5 means they took 2 tricks, and we could make 5 if we play the hand in hearts. That's all consistent. What if they, instead of running to hearts, ran to spades? What's our double dummy think about this? A lot of down 3s, right? And you'll notice that our down 3s are either a trump, which follows a principal, or the ace king of clubs, which follows a principal. They're down 3 in spades. What if we just played a diamond? What if they passed it? And that's the only other option they've got. It should be obvious that no trump is a slaughter if they want to do that. Like one of the questions you might have about the redouble is, oh my God, what if they just leave 1 diamond redoubled in? Okay, what if they do? Let's turn the double dummy on one last time. West can't beat it. His best leads are hearts, and those are making. So as soon as West jumped in there with a takeout double here, had North chosen to go for the throat, they had nowhere to run. And we can make a diamond redoubled. Okay, so that's a little bit off the beaten path with 5-5 shape, but that's the other road you could go down. And I hope this convinces you a little bit that when you redouble and you own the deck and it's a misfit, often they have nowhere to go. And we just lead trump, and we lead trump, and we lead trump, we lead trump. Okay, if we have 24 highs and they have 16, where do they get their tricks from? They get them from distribution, from roughing things. How do we stop them from roughing things? We lead trump. All right, so that's the deep dive on board 11. You've got your redouble card, your Jordan 2-0, whether new suit should be forcing, fourth suit forcing rehash, what bids at the 3 level should be. They should be invitational, like in old suits or even in new suits. Why? Because we put all the good hands into 4th suit forcing. All right, that's the deep dive on hand 11. We're doing pretty darn good on time here. The next thing I want to tackle is Bridge Master. And I called this the Bridge Base Online's dirty little secret on how to get better fast. And every time I mention Bridge Master to people, like it even used to be 50 cents or 25 cents per 30 minutes that you had access to it. It's now completely free, but it was a big bargain at 50 cents per 30-minute access. And I would say to people, do you know that about this Bridge Master thing on BBO? They go, oh yeah, I know about that. I practice with it. People aren't practicing with this. It's a great tool. And I want to show you how it works. I'm going to tie it in with the theme of not pulling trump. I went through and fished out 2 problems from Bridge Master that are don't pull trump hands. We'll talk about how to count tricks here. So a lot of stuff to hit here. If you go to your initial BBO screen, all right, that's the screen that you get when you start BBO. You will notice that one of your options is practice, and that's what this is. It's a practice tool. And your third option is Bridge Master. And you can see I've successfully passed deal 1 and 2 on the beginner level. You can select whatever level you want. Okay, they have beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert, world class. They have so many deals here, so many deals on so many themes. And you know, if you just set yourself up to go in here and do 1 problem a day, you could knock out the first 2 levels and be a much better bridge player by September. That's 1 deal a day. So let me show you how this works. Let's say that we select deal A3, okay, because it's one of the themes I want to talk about tonight. And what they'll do is there's no bidding involved. This is all declare play. They will give you a contract in an auction. Sometimes the auction is pertinent. Here we can click on the contract if we want to see what the auction was, and we do some bidding and we get to 6 hearts. The auction's not super important here. And keep in mind that we are going to play, for most of our purposes, we are going to play 6 hearts and 5 hearts and 4 hearts and 2 hearts and 3 hearts. Whatever our contract is, we're trying to take as many tricks as reasonably possible. So our opponent leads a trump, and this is always where, when the dummy came down, you would want to count tricks. And we just go suit by suit. I can feel the eye rolling, and of course I do that. And from what I'm seeing on the data, people are not doing this. This is one of the best bangs for your buck as far as time spent at the bridge table. Count your tricks. So we have 5 hearts. We have 2 spades. That's 7. We have the ace of diamonds. That's 8. And we have the ace king of clubs. That's 10. At this point, I'm not sure I did this right. Okay, anyway. I'm starting to think I didn't hold the right hand up here. Let me try one other hand here. This is disappointing. I think they've changed the numbers on me. Oh, maybe I did advanced. All right, be patient with me here. Here we go. Okay, great. I had it on intermediate instead of beginner. It was beginner A3. Okay, so we get to 7 spades. And again, same speech. We play 4 spades to make 7. We play 6 spades to make 7. We play 5 spades to make 7. If somehow we're playing 1 spade, we play it to make 7. You take as many tricks as you can. Here's the counting tricks part. We have 6 spades. We have the ace king of hearts is 8. We have the ace king of clubs is 10. And we have the ace king of diamonds for 12. Okay, and I'm not seeing anywhere else on this hand that I could possibly get extra tricks as far as setting up a suit or high cards. Like, we might be able to set up that club suit, but how in the world are we going to get to it? Okay, so the only other place to look for tricks is if I have a side suit in my hand, and by my hand, I guess I should more clearly say the hand with more trump. Okay, I have 6 trump, dummy has 2. But what I've been granted here is a side suit of hearts that has more cards than the dummy. Anytime that's the case, the sirens ought to be going off that we can create extra tricks by roughing. And, you know, we just play the ace king of hearts and we rough a heart, and that's 13 tricks. Okay, so this one isn't too bad, right? We play the ace of spades, we play the ace of hearts and the king of hearts, and we rough a heart, and we come to the diamond, and we pull the trumps, right? Easy. We've got all winners in our hand at this point. And the computer's just playing their cards basically the best way they could to potentially defeat you if you play the contract wrong. So we get to the end, and we ought to get some celebration, some type. Okay, yeah, I get a star, contract made. Let's go back and do this the wrong way. So instead of doing that boring thing of counting tricks, yes, the computer plays double dummy. The computer is going to take advantage of any misstep you make. And the deeper you get into the problems, the closer to like the expert level, the more they will punish you for anything you do wrong. So this is designed to sharpen up your technique. Okay, if you're doing anything sloppy, it's going to exploit it. And that's exactly what we want. So instead of counting tricks, watching people play the hands, I'm afraid that the declare play algorithm goes like this. And I asked the question today about why are people pulling trumps so fast? And I guess I agreed with the answer. It's because when you first start playing bridge, one of the first things you hear is get the kids off the street. Okay, pull the trump. And I think that everybody's algorithm goes something like this. Okay, cool. I'm going to win the first trick and I'm going to pull trump. Okay, they had 5. Let's see. They've each followed twice. Okay, one more. Got the trumps pulled. Whew. And now they decide what to do. And that's, you're down 1 at this point. If there's no place to park that 2 of hearts, if your algorithm is broken such that you think that you have to pull trump, like that's the first step in your program. That's not the first step in the program. I would challenge you to actually flip that and say, before I pull any amount of trump, I've got to ask myself, do I need the short side trumps to create extra tricks? And one of the first places you would look is, do I have a side suit that contains a loser and that's longer than the length in the dummy? Yes, I have 3 hearts here, 2 hearts in the dummy. Hey, they gave me that doubleton for a reason. It's because I can create an extra trick by roughing in the shorthand. You always create extra tricks by roughing in the shorthand. And if you do this, right, at the end, it's going to gong you. And let's say, you're stuck on this hand. I can't figure out what's going wrong or how to make this hand. Well, check this out. There's a show solution button on the left side. And this is super cool. It will show you the hand, right? And it will walk you through exactly what's going on. Okay. West trump lead is won by South. South's only possible loser is the 2 of hearts. Blah, blah. North's remaining trump can be used to take care of South's 2 of hearts. South should immediately ace king of hearts and ruff a heart. So there's always the option to go to the movie that will show you exactly what's going on the hand. There's 5 different skill levels. There's somewhere between 30 and 90 deals or something for each level. Like you can't run out of problems on this. And it will sharpen your game so much in exactly the area where you can be picking up the most match points. Like learning fancy bidding conventions is not where you're going to pick up the most match points. Being more careful about taking all your tricks and having sound logic behind your bidding. Like notice the difference between fundamentals and logic and fancy conventions. You need the logic part. You need the trick taking part. The convention part is nice, but the other 2 areas are where you're going to get a lot of meat off the bone. And really all this overreaction to people pulling trump prematurely is it's for 2 reasons. A, it's a big problem just from looking at results. And B, I'm still stuck on that hand where declare had 4 small diamonds and the dummy had ace king third of diamonds from last week that I actually made a video on not pulling trump about. It was just amazing to me. Table after table in the open game, pulled trump, and then worried about what to do with the diamond loser later. You can't afford to do that. You've got to form a plan before you start touching the trumps. So one more time, I challenge you to reverse your thinking on pulling trump. Instead of get the kids off the street immediately, is it possible that I need the shorthands trumps for something? I need to convince myself that I absolutely don't need them. Once I do that, or once I take care of my business, then I can pull trump. Okay, so reverse your thinking on that. All right. And now let's go to the featured presentation, which is, I promised, my first ever PowerPoint presentation. Here it goes. It's from a suggestion that we talk about competitive bidding. And we have a tool for this, and it's called the law. So here is the PowerPoint presentation on the law. And you'll notice that our opening slide here is some, the scales of justice, the law. How high should we compete? That is the question. The question we're trying to provide the answer to here is these bread and butter situations where the opponents have bid 3 clubs and you are thinking about competing to 3 diamonds, or where the opponents have bid 2 spades and you're thinking about competing to 3 hearts. We have a way to diagnose whether we should be bidding or not in these situations. All right, the first point is trump length approximates trick-taking capacity. And the simplest form of the law states that the total number of tricks on a deal, and what I mean by total number of tricks is the number of tricks they could take in their fit plus the number of tricks we could take in our fit, equals, and equals is probably too strong a word. It should be that like tilde looking thing that's close to. It's approximated by our trump length plus their trump length. Okay, so if we think that we have 8 spades and they have 9 hearts, the law says that our tricks plus their tricks should also be somewhat close to 17. The number of trumps should be a predictor of the number of tricks. And the second point is usually you're safe competing to the level of the number of trumps you and your partner hold. And in parentheses, just in case someone tries to lawyerese me later, I do put the vulnerability and your opponent's proclivity to have an itchy trigger finger on the double card matter. So you've got to be more careful red, and you've got to be more careful against people who are clever enough to figure out that you have bid too much, and they have a counter to that called the red card with the X on it that turns 100 into 200 and 100 into 300 and 50 into 100. You get the point. Third point, this is independent of how many high card points each side has. Okay, so never justify bidding 3 diamonds over their 3 clubs because we have 22 high card points and they have 18. That the law says nothing about that. Okay, the fact that you have 22 high card points might mean that you have a slightly higher share of the total tricks, but it doesn't inform your decision about whether you should be declaring the hand or defending the hand, perhaps doubled. Okay, so I'm not sure how ingrained that is in people or if that feels counterintuitive, but let it sink in one more time. This is independent of how many high card points we have. And normally we're going to be using it in a competitive part score type deal such that the high card points are probably going to be distributed, no worse than 17, 23 or something in that neighborhood. But don't justify bidding on based on high cards. We're going to justify bidding on based on extra trump length. Fourth point, you can use the law in any competitive situation. It doesn't matter if you're the opening side or the overcalling side. All we need to make an informed decision is an estimate of the number of trumps that we hold and the number of trumps that the opponents hold. The more shape there is on a deal, the more you want to bid on or declare. I hope that makes sense. The wackier the distribution, the more people are justified in competing higher. The flatter the hands, the less fits there are, the more you should be inclined to defend. And if we think back to the BBO exercise where we were practicing the redouble card, it goes along with that. Okay, we were redoubling and suggesting defense at the 1 level based on what? Based on the fact that we thought that the deal was a misfit. And when the deal's a misfit, and when people have balanced hands, that tends to make us want to defend rather than declaring. And last point, I kind of just hit the less shape there is on a deal. It's just the flip side. The less shape there is, the more you want to pass or double / defend. And for tonight's purposes, we're not going to be talking a ton about passing versus doubling. For one reason, because I'm not good at that particular decision. There's a reason that my license plate was once minus 790. Higher math. If we have an 8-card trump fit, they have 5 of that suit. Our opponents hold a combined total of 26 cards. They each get 13. 5 from 26 is 21, and there's 3 suits to split up for those 21 cards. Unless those 21 cards break specifically 7, 7, 7. If we have an 8-card fit, they also have to have an 8-card fit, which would mean that our law number, our trump length plus their trump length, has to be at least 16. And the only case where it would be 15, 8 plus 7, is if the opponents each have 7-card fits in all of the other 3 suits. More higher math. Let's say both sides have an 8-card fit. Hopefully the first higher math slide convinced you that if we have one, they very likely have one. The law estimates there will be 16 tricks since there are 16 trumps. And it's not important that the law be exact. Very frequently it is. Very frequently it's off one or one too high or one too low. There are more complicated versions of the law that will help you with these adjustments. That's not the point tonight. And the third point on the right is inevitably what everyone always says after I've been running my mouth for too long, which is, how am I ever going to use this? I'm glad you asked. Let's say it's a part score battle where you hold the spades and they hold the hearts. What are the possibilities for how the 16 tricks break down? Well, possibility 1, they could be taking 9, and if we let them play 2 hearts, we are going to punch into the computer or enter onto the virtual BBO score slip minus 140. Well, we could be doing better by bidding 2 spades. Like if they can make 9 tricks, we can take 7. And we would be better bidding 2 spades and turning our minus 140 into minus 50. And oh, by the way, if we're not vulnerable, we can even afford for them to double us. Minus 100 would be better than minus 140. Or if we're playing against people who we know constantly overbid, right? Because they've got ants in their pants. I don't know why. I've noticed that people don't like to defend. If they bid 3 hearts over our 2 spades, that's great. We've done our job. Or if they forget to double us, like even if we're vulnerable, if they're not confident in their defense and they don't like making penalty doubles of part scores, we can sometimes even get away with this when we're vulnerable. What are other ways they could break down? Each side could have 8 tricks. That 16 could be broken down 8 and 8. They're making their contract. We would be making our contract. It should be obvious that we want to bid. They could be taking 7, like we could be beating 2 hearts. But if they're taking 7, we're taking 9. And we would certainly trade that plus 50 for plus 140. What side do you want to be on? In all of those cases, where the tricks are broken down somewhat evenly, we want to be on the side of bidding 2 spades. And one of the reasons that we want to be doing that is if we have an 8-card fit, we are generally supported in competing to the 2 level, the 8-trick level. 8 trumps justifies contracting for 8 tricks. And it doesn't matter if you're going down or making, because if you're going down, those are the times that they would be making. If you're making, those are the times they would be going down, but you wouldn't be getting enough penalty to compensate for the 110 or the 140 that you're owed. And last bullet point just said, we are justified in competing to the 2 level when we have an 8-card fit. A quick public service announcement. If they are at the 2 level when they want to be, okay, repeat that. That's why it's in caps, because it's important. When they want to be. which is basically the same as saying when they have a known 8-card fit. They open 1 heart. It goes past 2 hearts. They have an 8-card fit. Okay, we don't let them play that, basically. If they open 1 heart and responder bids a forcing no trump, and opener bids 2 clubs, and responder takes a preference to 2 hearts, they don't necessarily want to be playing 2 hearts there. What they're probably on is a 5-2 fit, and when they don't have 8 trumps, we don't have to work as hard to get them out of that contract. Bullet point 2, we should be doing our damnedest to compete over that with balancing bids, takeout doubles, etc., particularly when our suit outranks theirs. Okay, so if they want to be at 2 clubs on an 8-card fit, that's nonsense to let them play that, right? Because we probably have an 8-card fit, and we have 3 places that 8-card fit might exist that outrank clubs. It gets a little bit more squirrely if they have the spade suit, and if we're vulnerable. There are degrees of safety here, but mainly we don't want them to play at the 2 level when they want to play at the 2 level. Third point, bridge is a zero-sum game. What's a zero-sum game mean? What's good for our opponents is equally bad for us. However good it is for them, it's equally detrimental to us. Okay, there's no it's good for both sides nonsense. If they get 68% on the board, we get 32. If they get 15, we get 85. You always chop a board up so that the sum total is 100%. So anytime they're in a comfortable situation, that ought to be equally uncomfortable to us. Occasionally when we compete, we will look stupid. Why are we playing bridge if we don't get the opportunity to feel stupid? And feel embarrassed, and we write in minus 200 or minus 300 or gasp minus 800. And let me tell you, it only hurts for a little while. Our other alternative is to passively accept an accumulation of 25% scores for minus 110, minus 140. We look down the string of scores, minus 110, minus 140, plus 50. At the end of the night, we're like, well, we didn't really do anything wrong. We kind of took all our tricks, and here we are with this 25% game. It's because you were too passive. It's because you let them get away with too many situations where they were comfortable in their contract, okay? What I would much rather trade that series of scores in, that series of minus 110s and minus 140s and plus 50s, I would much rather trade them in for a handful of plus 50s and minus 50s when they could get 110, and then every once in a while we'll have that outlier minus 800. So what? It's one board, and you have to appreciate that the times you get minus 800, if you're following these principles, you probably weren't headed for a good board anyway. You didn't turn a 60% board into a 0. You turned a 25% board into a 0. So I'm happy to turn the occasional 25 into 0 if the upside of that is turning 2 or 3 25s into 50s and 55s and 60s, okay? And maybe even the occasional top. It's worth it to change your portfolio to look like that. Don't sit by and passively accept defeat. We have to get them off the 2 level when they want to be there. Next slide. What if we have 9 trumps? Same exact exercise. If we have 9, they have 4. That means they have 22 cards outside our trump suit. They have to have an 8-card fit. There's no way you can chop up 22 3 ways and avoid a number that's 8 or bigger. Therefore, the law number has to be at least 17. We've got 9, they've got at least 8. We can afford to outbid them at the 3 level when our number is 17. And we go through the breakdown again. If we have 10 tricks, they have 7. We want to bid. If we have 8 or 9, they have 8. We want to bid. Bidding dominates defending. If we have 8, so we're going down, that means they were making their contract. And we turn our minus 140 into minus 50. And if we have 7 tricks and they forget to double, we get minus 100, whereas they would have gotten minus 170, whereas we would have gotten minus 170 if we just defended the contract. So if we have 9 trumps, we're justified competing at the 3 level. What about if we have 10 trumps? Blah, 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 blah. They have 3. They have 23 cards. Again, they have to have at least an 8-card fit. The law number has to be at least 18. If we're considering competing to the 4 level, you can read. All the bidding leads us to better scores than defending. And in these slides, there was not one place where we said, oh, do you have a good hand? Oh, do you have 14 high card points instead of 11? Never. It's all about distribution. The more distribution we have, the more we want to bid. The less distribution we have, the more we want to defend and maybe double, tactically speaking, if the upside's there. But that's a talk for another day. And the takeaways. Compete to the level of the number of trumps you have in part score battles. If I could give you 2 pieces of advice to come out of this, it's that, and it's remember that not to let your opponents play at the 2 level when they want to, when they are known to have an 8-card fit. And with apologies to Larry Cohen's bowls tip, we did, I think maybe 2 winners ago, I had people buy the bowls book and we went through the tips there. And one of the tips we covered in a pregame talk was the opposite. The nursery rhyme you learn when you're talking about whether to play off the ace-king or to take a finesse for the queen, like when you're playing a trump suit. The nursery rhyme is 8 ever, meaning we take a finesse, and 9 never, we never take a finesse. This one's flipped around. When we're thinking about competing to the 3 level, 8 never, so 8-card fit, we never bid 3 over 3. 9 ever. If we have a 9-card fit, we're justified in bidding 3 over 3. That's what I've got for tonight. Certainly some of these topics could have been expanded upon, but trying to cram some, as much content as possible in for you. I'm going to chop up tonight's talk and probably put them into about 4 segments and put them on the YouTube channel for people who want to review or for people who weren't available for the talk tonight. A reminder that tomorrow night we have a 0 to 100 game for the RBC that got 11 pairs last time. That's incredible. We had 11 pairs who overcame the hurdle of figuring out how to get on BBO and signed up and money in their account, all that stuff. 11 pairs for 0 to 100. Let's keep growing that. Keep encouraging people. And we had, I think, 16 tables in the open game. So that's a growing game. Please help support that. Come out and play. Bridge is fun. Hope you enjoyed this talk and got a lot of great stuff. And if there's stuff that you need to review, or if you want, if you need one of these handouts or something, you can always email me. I'll do my best to get you a copy of them. Yeah, that's what we've got for tonight. This was fun, and we'll figure out some new stuff to talk about next time. And yeah, see you guys there. I'm not seeing anything in the chat, so we'll wrap it up here. Hope you guys had fun with this. Good night.
Thank you, Lance.
You're welcome.